Alright guys, so when you come to your character, there are pretty much two main things that you want to decide on before you evolve the character and create a backstory, which is so fun within itself. But don't worry, first you've got to choose a race. There's not just humans in the world of D&D, there are so many creatures that you can play as, and it's so varied that it makes the game interesting and fresh each time you play. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all the races so far. There are so many races, and I know you've got a lot of time on your hands probably, so I'm just going to try to quickly go through all the races that you want to play as, and I'm going to try and explain this as quickly as I can, but I still want to give you that little bit of information that you might need. So I'm going to start with these first couple of races I'm going to describe to you are some of the more common races in D&D. These are the ones that you'll see most in the world. So starting with your dwarves. Dwarves are the classic D&D characters. They are stubborn, hardy, live for about 300 years, and they absolutely love their mining. They absolutely love their gems and whatnot. But they are loyal, they're slow to trust, but when they become trustful of others, they are, like I said, they become very, very loyal. They are very good fighters, very good clerics. They are very versatile in a lot of classes, which makes them really fun to play as. There are a couple sub-races to dwarves as well. So in D&D, there are a lot of sub-races to some of these races you play as to make them a bit more varied. So dwarves are naturally hardy. That's what they are. Then the two sub-races that you can play as a mountain dwarf. Mountain dwarfs live more in mountains and halls carved out mountains by dwarves, because dwarves love showing them off. And mountain dwarves are a bit more strong. You've got the second sub-race, which is the hill dwarf. Hill dwarfs are more wise. A bit more wise and even a little bit more hardy, because they live more in nature, so they're a bit more in tune with nature. The second race that I'm going to show you is another classic Dungeons and Dragons type of character. It is the elf. Elves are tall, slender, gracious, and dexterous characters. They live for the longest out of all races at about 750 years old, so therefore they have an aloofness to life, whereas dwarves are stubborn and very much about tradition. If you've lived as long as an elf, you're probably going to be very, not carefree, but very open to a lot of things. They're very arty sort of people. They're artisans. They love creativity. That's what makes them so good. Now, elves are also a very naturally magical type. If you've ever seen Lord of the Rings, you've seen Elrond, you've seen Arwen, you've seen those sort of characters, and you know just how innately magical elves are. So that's kind of what elves are like. Now, there are three sub-races of elf you can play as in Dungeons and Dragons. So you've got the High Elf. High Elf is your Elronds, which are, they're more like your intelligent elves, the more your diplomatic elves. You've got your Wood Elves, are your second sub-race. Wood Elf, they're more your wise, they're more your perceptive. Legolas is a perfect wood elf. And then you've got your dark elf. Dark elf live in the Underdark, which is like a whole network of systems and caves and caverns underground where a lot of creatures roam. And dark elves were actually banished to the Underdark because they believed in a god that was all about domination. So they got banished and driven to the Underdark, and therefore they tend to be an evil race, but you can make up a way that your Dark Elf, also known as what they call a Drow, can be good, and they're very charismatic because they're often very deceptive. So they are really cool to play. The next common race is the Halfling. So if you've ever seen Lord of the Rings, they're very similar to hobbits, but the difference I would say between halflings and hobbits from Lord of the Rings is halflings in this world do tend to be a bit more adventurous, in the sense that they do love staying at home, they do love their comforts, but unlike Frodo and Bilbo, where it took them ages to get them out of the door, halflings do tend to go on more adventures. They are very dexterous because they're their size, and like I said, they're very kind creatures. They're very they're the life of the party, and like I said, they love their comforts so much. You've got there are two sub-races of halflings. You've got the Lightfoot. Lightfoot are charismatic. These are the ones that are really good at parties. And they're also, in the name Lightfoot, they also are very naturally stealthy. Next, you've got Stout halflings. And Stout halflings are more of your hardy halflings. Next, you've got something which I hope you are, humans. Humans are the most varied race, and when I say they're varied, they are good at everything, but they're not masters of everything. Whereas you look at a dwarf, and dwarfs are very strong. Humans are just they're decent at everything. Humans have a lot of different ethnicities in this world too. So you can play as dark-skinned, light-skinned, beige-skinned, whatever. I don't really need to go into halflings. Humans, should I say. Humans, the reason for adventuring if you're a human, whatever you think a human, how a human would adventure, because you're yourself a human. So if you want to be, if you want someone that's good at everything but not fantastic at anything, humans are perfect. So next I'm going to go to some more common but less common races. They are still prevalent throughout the world, but they are not super common. Here's a really cool one. Dragonborn. So I'm going to push it up to the screen so you know what they look like. Dragonborn. Whoop, where am I going? This side, there we are. Right, sorry about that. Dragonborn, how cool is that? Dragonborn are not half human, half dragon. They're their own creature, kind of descendants of dragons. But they are humanoid, they're civilized, they are strong, but they're also charismatic as well, because dragons in this world aren't just your mindless dragons, they're actually very charismatic and they talk. So Dragonborn has that strength. Not only that, but Dragonborns have their own sort of skin color, and that skin color is dependent on what sort of dragon they were descended on, because you have black dragons in this game which breathe acid, brass dragons which breathe fire, bronze dragon breathe lightning, and that's what's cool about the Dragonborn, because one of the things a Dragonborn can do is they can breathe one of those things depending on what color they are. So they are super cool. Next you have the one of the shortest races, the Gnomes. Gnomes are, they like to have fun, they like to prank. They're also another really kind race. They're probably the most curious race out of all races. They are tinkerers through and through. They love tinkering. Like I said, they're super, super curious. You have, they're also very intelligent, so they make good spellcasters for sure. They're very good spellcasters. You've got two sub-races of gnomes. You have got the forest gnome, like the hill dwarfs. They're more in touch with nature, and they are more dexterous. They also get a really cool feature called speaking with small beasts. Shows how in touch with nature they are. The rock gnomes are a bit more hardy, and they also are able to create small devices that help them out in battle, so that's really cool. Gnomes are very underrated.